For this video, I'm going to take you for a quick tour of the cruise port located on the island of St. Thomas. I really enjoy vacationing in the Caribbean. Now, after all these years of spending time down here, I figure I'd share some of the things that I've learned. For this vlog, I'm focused exclusively on the island of St. Thomas, specifically the cruise port here. And this is, for starters, the largest island in the chain of U.S. Virgin Islands. And one of the things that I'll point out immediately is this is a U.S. territory. So the cars are all U.S. spec, left-hand drive. But because of the history of the island and its origins, all the roads are right-hand drive. So it's an incredibly awkward place to drive. Because of this fact, I declined to rent a car here even though I'm American. I mean, obviously it's just my opinion. I just find that driving here would be very awkward for people that didn't grow up here. So I would definitely recommend caution before you decide to rent a car. Another thing that makes this particular tour a little challenging is there's actually two cruise ports in St. Thomas. There's one at the West Indian Company dock as well as the Crown Bay dock. I filmed mostly the Crown Bay dock for this particular vlog. I have been to both cruise ports, so I'm just going to try to cover them both in at least general terms. Now, the first thing that you'll probably notice about this cruise port is it's very colorful and vibrant, but it is among the smallest cruise ports in the Caribbean, at least of the ones that I've been to. It's also not like a resort style cruise port like you'd see in like Puerto Plata or Costa Maya, the ones that have like pools and lazy rivers and animal enclosures for like parrots and flamingos and those type of things. They don't have that kind of stuff here. This is just a basic shopping center where you can catch a cab to the capital city, and that's about it. Speaking of the capital, it's the city of Charlotte Amalie, and for history buffs, there's just an endless amount of museums and historic buildings and just national treasures, I guess, for the Virgin Islands to see. And so if you're currently sitting on the cruise ship right now and debating whether you should get off or not, I don't think the cruise port itself is probably worth it, but the nearby city of Charlotte Amalie, there's just so many great things to do and see. I would definitely recommend getting off the boat in that situation. Now, if you are looking at potential excursions, I'd highly recommend Blackbeard's Castle. That was amazing. If you are a big fan of beaches, Magens Bay is one of the most picturesque beaches you're ever going to see in your life. One of the things that really surprised me about St. Thomas the first time I visited was I didn't realize just how big the mountains were here. And I will say this, if you are riding along in one of the excursion buses and you have an issue with heights, you might freak out because the roads are really narrow up in the mountains, and in order to get to Magens Bay you have to kind of cross over the top of a mountain. At least I guess that's the fastest way to get there. And I remember, the bus from Romancing the Stone where, Kathleen Turner had to leave the bus and she ended up sliding down the mountain and mudslide and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I see these like tight mountain roads and everything. And I just flash back to the 80s film. And, if you have an issue with being afraid of heights, then you might want to stay on the cruise ship in that situation. As for the restaurants in the cruise port itself, I didn't think there was anything to call home about. The food was competent, but not great. If you are going to Charlotte Amalie, then I'd highly recommend you checking out the restaurants, either the Twisted Cork Cafe or the Surf and Turf Bistro, because especially the Surf and Turf, the steaks were just to dynamite, and I can't believe you get a great steak on an island in the Caribbean, but here we are. One last attraction that I'd like to mention before I forget is the Virgin Islands National Park. If you have like these postcard like ideas in your head of like what the Caribbean looks like, you're gonna find them at that particular national park. It's just an absolutely beautiful tropical paradise. There's a lot of that clear, bright blue water, lots of like nice beaches and foliage and just mountains in the background. Everything it's just one of the most picturesque, scenic places out there. So if you have the opportunity to go to the Virgin Islands National Park, then I highly recommend it. For my most recent Caribbean trip, I went to both St. Thomas as well as St. Maarten, And I found that the cruise port here in St. Thomas was superior, at least for the type of shopping that I do. I'm more of a gift shop and t-shirt type of person. St. Maarten was more heavy on the jewelry side, and I was less interested in their merchandise. But in all honesty, I found both of these cruise ports a little on the boring side. I'm just more of a swimming pool and resort style guy, and I just have a much better time when I'm at Puerto Plata or Costa Maya. Thanks for joining me on this tour of St. Thomas. If you enjoyed this vlog of the Adventure Schmuck, don't forget to like and subscribe.